All hail the Emperor. Here we are with part one of our two-part deep dive examination on Star Trek Mirror Universe. Star Trek Weekly starts now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
We'll check.
I'm not even joking. I hurt myself on my little Emperor,
You did that really hard there.
Yeah, because I wanted it to look good and I wanted it to be fast. Welcome to Star Trek Weekly. I'm Christian Bladt.
You wanted it hard and fast?
Yes, at Christian DMZ. Oh, that's right. I shouldn't say at Christian DMZ, but too late. I am. I've used one of the most obscure Mirror songs I could think of. Alice Cooper, See Me in the Mirror, which is not on an album, but it was on the soundtrack to a horror movie he starred in called Monster Dog, where they dubbed out his voice and replaced it with someone else. Not the singing voice, but the speaking voice.
Wow.
Anyway, this was the Mirror song that's been in my head while I was watching these episodes. Before we talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, let's welcome to the panel, Kari Lane.
What's up?
And, of course, Frank Moran.
Hey, guys.
It's so much more awkward this way.
Yeah.
I know.
Guys.
Hey, everybody, let's have a show. But we are going to have, as I said in the intro, this is the first part of our Mirror Universe extravaganza.
And what a one it is.
And what extravaganza.
Oh, boy.
I'm glad that we only have 3 episodes to talk about here because... Look, there's a lot. And so if you haven't
There's
watched them
more.
recently or you want to rewatch them, you can do a little pause and then come back to us. We're talking
Go to
about
Netflix.
Star Trek Enterprise. These are all on Netflix. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
pointing that out. Star Trek Enterprise, Season 4, Episodes 18 and 19, Through a Mirror Darkly, which is a great title. Kind of stops there about being
Yes.
great, but I love that title. Actually, there's the beginning of it is something I really like.
Yeah.
And, of course... I believe it's Season 2, Episode 4 of Star Trek, the original series.
That was good.
Mirror, Mirror. Yes, Mirror, Mirror is great.
Yes.
And I was just like, they needed another half hour. Because
Yeah, that would've been nice.
the last couple minutes, you felt like there's a countdown clock in the corner where they're like, look, we're almost out of time. You got to wrap this up. Yeah, there's like the guy sitting there like this, hitting his watch.
But because I feel like the writers are like, we still have some more stories, so let's give them 4 hours.
Yep.
Nope, we got to go. We've
Wrap
got
it up,
30
wrap it
minutes.
up, go.
Yeah, 30
That's it.
minutes.
30
That's
minutes.
it.
That's it.
That one, it would have been... So I watched it with the Enterprise, and then the original series. I actually probably should watch the original series, then Enterprise, if only because Enterprise essentially references the
Yes,
older one.
sure.
So, but then it was kind of nice as I'm watching the older episode. I'm like, oh, that was okay. Then it made me
Right,
like the
but
Enterprise episodes
chronologically,
more.
you did the right thing.
Oh,
Because
okay.
in the timeline,
Ah.
that is the correct order. The correct order would be Enterprise, Discovery, original series.
Got it.
So I guess in that way you didn't watch them in that
Ah.
order because you watched Discovery first. But so that's the way that they go in that order. Anyway, we're going to talk about those. And Stephen in the booth, I don't know if anybody's in the chat because it's so late at night and we're talking about episodes from 50 years ago or 15 years ago. But at the same time, we'll see if anybody's in the chat.
Indeed, because they are
Yay!
Thank you.
timeless.
But if you're not watching it live, it's okay. You can comment down below.
That's right. And don't forget to give it the old
Thumbs up.
The old thumbs up. All right. So let's start off
So that's what was saying. Good.
with the
There we
the
go.
newbie to the Star Trek
Yes.
universe. So had you ever seen an episode of Star Trek Enterprise before?
No.
Okay. What were your thoughts as you started watching and as you went along through basically 90 minutes, 2
Yeah.
episodes of the Mirror Universe in Through a Mirror Darkly?
Okay, so I think I could have probably appreciated the episodes better if I had known what they were like normally.
Sure.
Because then you go, oh, we get to see these characters in a new light. But if you're watching them the first time that way, it was painful, to be honest. It was like, because I'm a fan of Quantum Leap, so it was hard to watch. It's Scott Bakula, right? Yeah.
It is indeed
It was
Scott
hard to
Bakula.
watch him be a bad guy. So I was like, that was hard. The ladies' midriffs were so stupid. I'm like, all right, let's just randomly have a midriff. And it's funny because you could tell the actresses. So the one who's the Vulcan is like, sitting this
Yeah.
way so that you don't
Well,
pinch your stomach, which I'm like, that's smart for
and
her.
also
but
her pants are lower.
Yeah.
I definitely noticed that T'Pol was she had a different outfit than Hoshi, and then when you watch the original series, you saw that like that's just the thing. The women midriff, that's just what you see.
It just felt weird,
Yeah.
but it makes sense too because the
Yeah.
other one, and then Hoshi was like the same. I'm like, oh, she's kind of the same. Okay, side note, but it's one of those. As I'm watching it, this was the worst kissing on TV like I have ever seen.
This was not good
It
kissing.
was horrible.
Yeah.
There's like at least 2 kisses, and they're the most like I've never kissed a person in my life, and it's like I would want that to be sexy.
Yeah.
Even though it's like the bad
No,
guys.
it would be like if it was an alien from a race that doesn't
know how to
kiss
kiss
with
humans.
their mouth.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, no, just do this.
Yeah.
And then they did it.
It was
Yeah, I agree.
so awkward, and because it feels like it should be like, ooh, it's the naughty people like doing raunchy stuff. Like then it'd be like, oh, this is gonna be hot. No, it's super awkward.
Right.
And then like the chemistry between everybody like essentially hitting on each other, it was super awkward, and everyone just being super angry mode the whole time was like, oh my gosh.
It was a lot to take.
It was
I'm not
a
gonna
lot
lie.
to take in.
And I watched them late at night.
Actually, here's
so.
the biggest problem is with seeing it on Discovery, seeing it on the original Star Trek, and then on this. The problem with the Enterprise is there's nobody who's like quote unquote normal in this alternate world to be your viewer vessel. Because like
Yes.
Discovery, we have our normal people there. Original Star Trek, it's our normal people there. But this having all the bad people was like,
Right, and there's an
hard,
important reason
yeah.
as to why they had to do it, which is something that's sort of the deck stacked against them, something that they didn't worry about for Discovery, but the problem being that in the original series, they're not aware of this mirror universe. So I guess the powers that be behind Enterprise felt like, well, they can't interact with the mirror universe, so we're going to just dive into the mirror universe and only show it, which I actually found a little bit jarring, but it made sense
that
from
makes
that
sense
standpoint.
when you say that.
But at the same time, it would have been great to have a frame of reference.
Yeah, something.
But I guess they felt like they couldn't do it.
Wait, is the opening different too? Because I felt that was
Yes,
something.
the opening is.
So that would be the hey, we're in a different world.
Yeah, that was
I
the indication.
Thought that, yeah.
I know, and Frank, I was disappointed that we didn't get to hear the song.
Yeah.
That it's like we get this crazy opening and said. 2 questions, Frank. Had you seen these episodes before?
I had seen them all before, but it
Okay.
had been a lot. I hadn't watched them again since the original run of Enterprise.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it seemed better. Like my memory of it,
because you were probably so excited that they were in the mirror universe,
Yes.
that you were able to kind of look beyond everything else. And a couple things to Kari's point. I was a huge Quantum Leap fan to the extent that I don't know why we don't have a throwback Quantum Leap after show here at AfterBuzz, but maybe we will. We do whole episodes about Al's clothes, but anyway, that's for another time. As much as I loved that show and as much as I like Scott Bakula, I had to bail on Enterprise. I couldn't watch it. I don't even think I made it to season 3. And I watched the final episode because I wanted to, and that's a story for a different time.
Yes.
About what a shit show that was,
Oh.
literally. But I didn't. So I hadn't seen these before, and by the way, I don't watch NCIS New Orleans either. Okay, I don't like Scott Bakula that much. All right, there's a line that I have to
There's
draw.
certain actors, actresses that like you like them as a certain way, and then it's unfortunate when they do something else and you're just like, no, I like you the other way.
Yeah.
Like it's when comedians who do like mainly all comedy and then they do a drama and then it just doesn't fit. So he's
Yeah.
like this nice, lovable guy, and seeing him different, it's just.
Yeah,
awkward.
no, and he's a good actor.
Yeah.
I don't know that this was in his range to pull this off. To be the bad guy and then also be the split personality like devil on his shoulder.
That was kind of cool.
It was kind of cool, but I felt like
It was weird though.
his conscience was a worse actor than he was, so it really threw me off. And as I was saying to Frank before we started, you can really just smell the desperation on the set of Star Trek Enterprise in these 2 episodes, because 3 episodes later is the series finale that I talked about. I think that they might not have been 100% sure that they were canceled at this point, so they were trying. And when you're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, you can push the envelope and do a lot more. but not if you're on UPN.
Bad lizard effects.
There was some, well, that
Hey, I
look,
know.
that's stock and
there's
trade in
bad
Star
TV
Trek.
effects.
Look,
It's okay.
bad
but
lizard effects
that
is something
should have been a
that Star Trek
person
is
in a
known for.
suit and then effects
That's
on
true.
top of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Then that would have been better.
But before the show, we were talking about V, so I know
Yeah.
about bad lizard effects. That's that. But yeah, I think that they were trying so hard because they had those really sexy scenes, which were the least sexy scenes
they
that I'd
were
ever
so
seen. They were
ugh.
really hard to watch.
Yeah.
And then they semi-inexplicably in part 2, when they're all on the Defiant, they put them in original series uniforms.
That was kind of funny.
Okay, I liked it, but from a story standpoint, I'm like, so why is everyone playing dress up? Like, I'm like, look, I like seeing the short skirts. I like seeing
They
Archer.
didn't have their outfits.
I like seeing Archer in
Kirk's
the
outfit.
fancy dress.
Yeah.
That's not the normal Kirk outfit. I
Yeah.
love that Kirk outfit. So it was just like they're just trying.
And they fit too.
Well, of course they fit. I mean, you can adjust them. You have the replicator. You can say
Oh,
like I need
well,
it in
there's
this
that.
size. In theory, I mean that's a Star Trek way of explaining anything. You're just like, yeah, sure, the computer knows how to do it. So these were not that enjoyable, but I liked getting some backstory about the mirror universe.
Yeah.
I thought that it was cool that the idea that we learned from Captain Archer that the Empire had gone on for hundreds of years beforehand, and I really like the beginning of the first episode when they repurposed the footage from First Contact, and I'm like,
Up to the point where you realize, like, oh wait, no,
yeah,
they don't.
no, it's like, wait, he didn't go for a gun, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but I mean, up in that point, you're like, by the way, James Cromwell's got to get a check for that, you know, which he's probably like, what did I do? He's like, I wasn't on that. So I thought that it was like, it started off strong, and I'm like, all right, I'm in for this.
Yeah, that was interesting. Of like, okay, this is that moment that changed
Yeah.
history, and that was cool.
And
I guess I am a little. You kind of mentioned it, and then I got a little lost, and our chat is not quite.
well,
up
maybe
right.
there's no one chatting. That might be the problem.
Later, when they get on the other ship, they kind of talk about all the other info. Did they end up getting into the parallel?
What are you
Because
talking about from Discovery?
no, Enterprise.
No, they just know that it exists.
Oh,
Because
they know
they
the
know
other
that they
universe.
know that ship is
Came from it.
from our universe or the Prime
Okay.
universe.
So they never switched. It's just
They
that
didn't
happened.
switch. They just know it happened. They just
And
know it
were
exists.
any of the crew or the aliens, quote unquote, on it from the other?
I mean, I
universe?
don't think the lizards or the Tholians.
No,
I
okay.
don't know. Frank,
It
did you
just-
get a sense that I don't think anybody
No.
was from the Prime universe. I think
That's
that
correct.
everyone
I
was
just
from
was
the mirror
curious
universe.
how they were like.
Yeah.
We know this is from the other one.
Yeah.
I don't feel that was laid out well enough.
I mean, I guess mention you go through the data banks and stuff. You start mining it for information. You're like, this does not line up with any
Yeah.
history that we have.
Yeah, and then, obviously the first thing you would do
Well, of
is
course it's a
essentially
parallel universe.
Google yourself, which
Yeah.
Yes,
I thought
I
was
did
kind
like
of
that. That was
interesting.
funny.
Yeah, I did enjoy that.
I thought it was funny. He was all
anyway,
upset about his.
Frank, I kind of filibustered there. Just overall thoughts. You enjoyed these when you first saw them, and then watching them again.
Yeah. Going back, I mean, it's just like, wow, the overacting is just, whew, man, it is
Now, do you
rough.
think it was this episode or the style of acting at the time?
No, well, I mean, for Enterprise, no. I mean, I feel like there are good performances in other episodes. This, when you just put them in the mirror universe and just say, yeah, you just got to be just really over the
Just
top.
amp it up, yeah.
Yeah, then I feel like there's nobody on set to go like, ooh, let's just
Dial
dial
it
it-
down a little bit.
Yeah, give us a 7. You don't have to go
Also,
full 10.
is there anything to do with the fact that our TVs were smaller back then? So it's like maybe we didn't notice as much, but now it's like blown up on this giant screen.
I will
TV.
say, out of all the mirror universes that we visited from the various series, this, which I never really enjoyed these uniforms anyway, but just the Enterprise basic uniforms taken over to the mirror universe, man, just the worst representation of mirror universe.
Yeah, they didn't.
What were those uniforms? Like,
They're
So
just like
they're
big
similar
jumpsuits.
to these. And for those listening on iTunes, I have the T-shirt from
Yeah.
Discovery. It's definitely different than this, but it's a jumpsuit version of this.
was that what they had at the beginning of the episode? You're saying?
Yeah, or they had it throughout. Yeah,
I was too distracted by the stupid midriff outfits where I was like, that's completely not functional.
yeah, all the guys were just basically wearing their regular Enterprise
Yeah.
Prime Universe ones, just with their mirror universe kind of
Yeah, and,
flare.
and because it's a mirror universe, the flare's on the other side. And
Yeah,
it's like, because
of
it's the
course.
mirror. Yeah.
That was the opportunity to finally give you a really cool uniform.
Yeah.
Those people,
swap
no,
it, yeah.
they didn't.
Anyway, more thoughts from
yeah.
you, Frank.
But I guess which makes sense because if you're thinking like we only have 3 episodes left, why invest a lot of the budget in new wardrobe? Like, we're probably gonna be canceled.
I think that they didn't know for sure, though.
Yeah.
I think there maybe was even part of them was like, yeah, come on, it's Star Trek. Of course there'll be more. You know, I feel like they must have had that thought, but it does reinforce that my feeling that when I heard that Enterprise was canceled, I'm like, well, yeah, it should be. You know, it wasn't like, oh, no, like when Quantum Leap was canceled, to go back to that, I was very upset.
Absolutely.
But when this was canceled, I'm like, okay, they got what they deserved. You know?
I mean, it's not as bad if I compare season finales, Quantum Leap as opposed to Enterprise. I feel like Enterprise makes me madder, even though I'm angry at the very end of that Quantum Leap episode. It's just one moment, but the whole episode of Enterprise, the way that they just cannibalize that
Look,
show.
since we keep talking about Quantum Leap, are you
Yes.
both caught up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Or did
Yes.
you at least see last week?
Yes.
Okay. So that character, Deke, who travels back in time, as soon as he travels back in time, the first thing he says, oh boy. And I was like, and I ended up watching it late at night. I'm in my house, and I'm like, I can't be excited. I can't yell, but I'm so excited. I'm like, somebody did something cool right there. Anyway, but
I'm not surprised. I feel that's a show they could.
We'll talk more about
Okay.
that tomorrow night on Marvel TV Weekly. Oh, except you won't be there.
That's right.
All right, well, we'll talk about it without Kari around. So, anyway.
I'll be working with movie stuff.
No, I know, that's
you
very cool. I'm not saying, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that I'll miss you.
I know. I was like, well, yeah.
You know, it's only Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 100th episode. Whatever. It's not
There you go.
special.
I will
Just
say when
getting
Deke
paid
shows
to
up,
watch a movie.
when he shows up in that park, it reminds me of the season finale where Scott, after being in the insane asylum, jumps into the park.
Into like post-World War II.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man.
See, this is
there's
why
more.
we have to do a Quantum Leap After show. The birth of the Quantum Leap After
That's
show
right.
is happening
Yeah.
right
Right here.
here.
So
We're going to put it
Beta-
together.
Artemis in the chat says, I'm so mad at Enterprise was canceled.
There is a part of me that, had I known that Star Trek was going to be off TV for so long, I would have been like, yeah, you know what? Give them a chance to figure it out on the air and try. But I think that the 4th season was the opportunity of like, all right, give it your best shot. See if you can, keep a UPN audience tuned in. And I mean, the fact that Voyager was able to go so long, I don't quite know what they did wrong, but I always had the feeling that Enterprise, I think it started off on the wrong note. Maybe that's what we should do. So we won't watch the whole series, but maybe we'll watch a couple of key episodes, and that topic will be, where did Enterprise go wrong? How could it have been better?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was the cast. As much as they overacted in these 2 parts.
Do you feel, depending on what Star Trek you grew up on, because Beta Artemis in the chat says I grew up with Enterprise.
That's a great point. If you grow up with Enterprise, it's like what it's what you know, and you're just like, yeah, this is. I think that's a great point, actually. Because I grew up with the original series, so that was easy. I mean, it was just like that, and I saw Star Trek 2 onward in the theater. Well, Star Trek 1 I was too little, and I definitely would have been crying as they panned through just the shot of the exterior of the Enterprise. But anyway,
I kind
ahead.
of bouncing off that, actually. I do like that in the mirror episode for the original Star Trek, when Spock does the mind meld with Bones, that I'm like, oh, that's like in the movie.
I know, I did actually
That
think
made
that
me so
too.
excited because I'm like, oh, good, now I've actually seen it. Well, I do like, after watching these, it makes me appreciate how Discovery tied in some of these. Because not
Yeah.
having seen them, it's
No,
like...
because in Discovery they referenced these. They referenced
Yeah.
Captain Archer. They referenced all that. And I don't know. I just had the assumption that they somehow had a mirror universe episode where the both sides were represented. I didn't know that they did it in this way. So probably at that point I should have gone back and watched this. But
I would have loved in Discovery if we could have just got like a quick little check about like how we got from Hoshi to Giorgio.
yeah, because there is.
I do like that it's 2 Asian empresses.
Well, there's no canon explanation. There's no canon confirmation that Hoshi is Empress. But apparently,
true. She
apparently
just
there,
says it
yeah,
on
she
the
says she
ship.
is. But there is apparently a novella that explores it. So it must be some kind of anthology
Yeah.
collection that they had. So
Okay, kind of
but
raunchy comment though.
we-
I'm always... No, myself. I was
Oh,
thinking
I was-
she slept her way to the top. But if she's at the top now, then who's she sleeping with? Anybody she wants, I guess.
Exactly. That's why you sleep your way to the top.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because then you're looking down.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I don't know. I mean, it was an interesting moment, but it was also, at that point, I was just like, sure, why not? You know.
Yeah,
It was
I
just,
like that she took over. It was kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, I guess one thing is we talked about this with Discovery, just a look at the show and where it falls in the Star Trek timeline. You see in this episode, they go back to the original series Enterprise Bridge, or the Defiant Bridge, but pretty much
that was
yes.
yeah. I mean, it looked so much like the Enterprise Bridge, and that's the sort of thing that is really cool.
Yes. How do you feel like that? What they showed there in Enterprise, are you happy with the look of that, or do you feel like that they could show that in Discovery and you'd be satisfied, or does it still need to be modified a little bit more to fit in with Discovery?
Well, I'll answer that. I would be satisfied. I feel like they would feel like they would need to give it more bells and whistles so that it's consistent with the Discovery, and the Shenzhou, and all the ships in the Discovery timeline. But I don't know, Kari, what do you think? Do you think it would be cool if it looked like the way that the Defiant did in Enterprise, and it looked like the old Enterprise bridge?
I think it could be cool. I hate to say that the bridges aren't looking all that different to me. That I go, oh my gosh, this is so different than the other one. That
I mean, it's just noticeable in terms of
only,
Discovery.
Like the old Star Trek to like new, like that. You go, oh okay, they just have better sets.
Yeah, well.
But. So that's about the only thing I'm really noticing. So, do we know that kind of timeline? Speaking in the chat of
what the timeline?
Giorgio?
Well, according to Beta Artemis, who's just all over the chat tonight, thank you, it's about 100 years between Hoshi and Giorgio, which
okay, so
it's a little bit less than that because of how Enterprise is, how Discovery is set before the original series. But yeah, it's like 90 years, so she's very close.
And I had a thought, and that went away.
What did you think about the bridge? Do you want it to look like that, or do you?
Well, it would be interesting to see if, like, the Constellation class, you find out in the second season of Discovery that is like when automobile manufacturers, they just do some kind of weird, kind of one-off kind of model that's like, whoa, what were we thinking, guys? Let's go back to what we should be doing.
Yeah, like the Enterprise is like the smart car of the fleet. It's
yes.
like, oh, no, we didn't spend that much money on it. This is what it should have looked like.
Yes.
It should have looked like Discovery. But, the Enterprise is like, and we just gave them the turtlenecks because we're like, we don't want to spend money on the real Klingon.
We tried something new, and nobody really embraced it. All right.
Yeah, it was... I was excited to sit down and watch something I'd never seen before, these 2 episodes of Enterprise. And I was not rewarded. My excitement definitely was not rewarded. I think that now it's like I need to like cherry pick key episodes in the series to have faith that it's at least worth watching at some point. Because there's a part of me that wants to watch all the Star Trek series, and and I hope that my son, who's 2.5, is enough of a nerd that he wants to watch all of them, and that he would actually sit there and watch them with me. These are all probably delusions.
No,
but
it's cute, Father.
It's a cute idea. We'll just see what happens.
You watch Star Trek with your kid, they will remember it, and they'll be like, "We watched Star Trek."
I watch Star Trek with my mom all the time. And oddly enough, I watched Mirror Mirror with my dad just last week because my dad's in town, and I'm like, "Hey, I gotta watch this for the show." So
I don't know. It's weird because you would think that all of those episodes would hold up over time, especially something like Enterprise, which was like the newest series before Star Trek went dark for a while on TV. And the fact that it holds up so poorly compared to the classic series, some of the Next Generation, and the other
I do attribute that to the UPNization of it, that they were trying to be, a little bit flashier, trying to be a little bit more in the moment, because I think that I would say for the most part, Next Generation holds up. I'm sure you could point to this or that or an episode here or there, but I think in general, the way I remember it, and, we've watched some recently, that I felt like Next Generation has held up fairly well. And at this point, the show's more than 30 years old.
Classic does it in its own way, except for it's obviously, the 60s, but like that was still far more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it holds up in the same way that
storytelling. It's
the same way that like a Twilight Zone holds up, where you're like, okay, it's in a specific time, but this is really good storytelling.
Yes.
And that's what we saw, I think, in Mirror Mirror. Anyway, Beta Artemis, thanks so much for being all over the chat. Anybody who's watching after the fact, please comment on the YouTube page and let us know that maybe you also loved Star Trek Enterprise. Was it your foray into the Star Trek universe? And does it hurt your ears to hear us bash the show so much? And most importantly, give me 2 or 3 episodes that I should watch that should win me back over, because it wasn't the pilot, it wasn't the first season.
Yeah.
I saw all those, and then I remember starting the second season. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing watching this? I don't enjoy this, so I stopped.
I don't hate it so much that I still think I'd want to check out Enterprise at the beginning to give it a try for sure. My goal is to watch all
All
Star Trek stuff.
750.
It'll take time, but
It'll take time.
yeah.
Well, don't worry. You got 5 you got to watch for next week. So
boy.
we'll talk about that in a little
man.
bit.
I guess I would challenge that or Voyager, that if you were to look over the course of those each series run, which one had the more just kind of average to mediocre episodes? Because I feel like Enterprise had a lot, but Voyager, since it has a few more seasons, could be right up there too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very blunt about how I didn't love that show either, and I would like to see the ones that are great of that as well. But
The one with The Rock fights against 7 and 9. There you go.
and by The Rock, do you mean Dwayne Johnson?
Yep.
All right,
That's
well,
right.
Now I'm in.
One of his first non-wrestling TV appearances.
In a moment, we will talk about Mirror Mirror, but first, want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life? For those who do, have we got a podcast for you? Conversations with Maria Menounos Podcast Edition is hosted by our AfterBuzz TV founder, Maria Menounos, and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews, along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of life, from health and wellness to career and relationships, finances, and more. Let our Maria be the big sister you never had. Just go to iTunes and subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. Be sure to rate and comment, and when you do, let Maria know that it was Star Trek Weekly who got you there. That's right, say Star Trek Weekly got you there. Conversation with Maria Menounos Podcast Edition. Check it out. We love Maria, and if you can have a little bit more Maria in your life, who doesn't want that? Especially for free.
That's right.
Maybe you don't want to subscribe to SiriusXM. I mean, I do, but maybe you don't. Anyway, so I feel like we can turn the page on Through Mirror Darkly, and the only way that I'll ever watch those again is if I'm watching every episode with my son. I can't imagine another scenario where I'm going to watch those again. I mean, if I go through the whole series, I still don't need to watch those two because I've just watched them.
But it was a nice Natholian web put together.
I did see. That's true. I did. Yeah, that was actually the one note I made
was
that I did
cool.
want to talk to you about. That was kind of
was
cool.
good.
But the Tholian looked really bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like Nintendo 64 graphics, maybe not even
Yeah.
Nintendo 64. I mean, it was like classic Nintendo graphics. You're like, wait a minute, is he talking to that cartoon in there? He couldn't possibly be talking to that cartoon. But and then we go to Mirror Mirror from the original series, which to me is it's tough to say that you have like a top 10 episode of the original series because there's only 79, but I do have, it's definitely in my top 10, probably in my top 5, and it's one of the best episodes. And as I said before, rewatching it, I forget how rushed everything is at the end and by the way, they had 50 minutes. That's a 15-minute episode. Now, today, that episode would be 8 minutes shorter. Not if it's on CBS All Access, but if it's on network TV, it'd be 42 minutes. So it's like they had 50 minutes and they still couldn't tell the whole story. And I was just like, man, I would like a little bit more here. And it's like, oh yeah, what is happening with the Mirror Universe crew over on the real Enterprise?
One little
That's
scene.
it. And I was like, oh, well, and in my mind, I'm like, well, yeah, we'll see them again.
Well, it kind of makes sense. So I think Spock would immediately lock them up, and then that wouldn't have anything more.
Yeah, no, Spock's very no nonsense.
He would be like, nope, and lock them up. So, but it'd still be fun to watch more of them try to talk to him or something like that.
By the way, I agree with Bones 100%. I really like him better with the goatee. It's such a cool look.
That was pretty fun. He's like, look better.
But I feel like this is it would have been great to do like a two-parter for the original series.
Yeah, and I guess they only did the 1 2-parter, so maybe that just wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not a lot of 2-part. Although I don't know, I feel like a lot of those like Quinn Martin, the Fugitive, and a lot of that stuff had multi-part episodes. I guess they didn't want to do that. But I think that this would have really benefited from just a second part.
Yeah, because to see more of the Prime universe, where you get to see, instead of Kirk and Spock being buddies, you get to see them matching wits against each other. You see this mirror universe of Kirk going up against our Spock, just to see what that would be. That's a dynamic you don't often get to see, which would have been really cool.
Yeah, so this held up to as great as I remembered it was. But then it just made me sad that it was like,
Yeah.
you know, you can see, like, you pause it and then you see, like, well, there's only like 3 minutes left and
Yep.
they're not back yet.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
liked-
this is not a two-parter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I like Sulu being creepy, hitting on Uhura. Like that was, but it's nice. See, this is an example where you're seeing a character you already know and being different. So that was kind of fun to see him be at all creepy. But I did not like Chekhov when he was trying to kill Kirk. That moment was like, oh, this is bad overacting.
Well, they didn't, they didn't think that
Or-
out, I think.
or they
it should
could've
have been Scotty or somebody. It shouldn't have been Chekhov.
I'm okay with him, but I felt they could have cut the scene because it's like, "Arr," he has like this weird crazy face and it like stays on his face too long and you're like, this is now it's just awkward. It's not scary and
No, it wasn't
Yeah.
scary.
Well, the thing that we never figure out with that is that this is the first time you see going to and for from the mirror universe, where not only you switch universes, but your clothes switch.
That
with-
was cool.
with your
yeah.
counterparts. But it's all weird. Like, why would your clothes switch?
Why would you I actually, I had that
That
thought.
doesn't make
it was
sense
like,
because you just switch with them, not like because
Yeah,
it's
I-
a time to put them in a new outfit.
I guess just from a screenwriting standpoint, if your clothes didn't switch, no one would think you were the other person. I guess they wanted the story to be, you know, Kirk and the crew trying to figure out how to masquerade as the ISS Enterprise.
Don't they do that in Discovery? Like they purposefully find the clothes and make them
Well,
get them
yeah,
ready.
but they
have more time.
figure it out, I
Yeah.
guess, and they actually, you know, change the outside of the ship to say
Yeah.
ISS. But
Well, because you think like we 50 minutes, and we were saying how much rush
Yeah.
it was at the end. Imagine spending more valuable real estate in that show
Mm-hmm.
with them justifying how they have to arrive there and change into costume to fit with everybody else. That's
yeah. Well, Spock's standing right there. They
Yeah.
couldn't really get out of that.
no, it just makes it easier. Let's just give them their costumes when they transport over, and we're good to go.
Which
And-
looks even more like a pirate this time with his sleeveless and the belt.
And I think that it actually, it's more a testament to the time that this episode aired, is that you don't over-explain stuff like that. You get to the action, you get to the stuff that's
Yeah.
like, all right, it's a little bit broader. It's not as
And sexiness
nuanced.
with Uhura and her midriff.
See, now that is the Uhura look that I always think of.
Oh, yeah?
Oh my God, nobody killed the midriff the way that Nichelle Nichols did in that episode. You know,
Yeah.
I
That
think,
six pack, man, was just
Yeah.
like there. Like,
and
nice
yeah, exactly.
going.
And you're just like, what? Why didn't they stick with that?
She's like, my clothes.
Yeah, she's like, oh no.
if I was
I-
Michelle, I would just play that on loop in my home constantly.
I wonder if she does, but I don't know. I think that it was, yeah. I mean, it was interesting to see how each of the different
Yeah.
characters tried to be a mirror universe person. You know, the only one who didn't really give it any attempt is Bones. Bones
yeah.
was just kind of like, all right, I'm extra cranky. I'm still
Yeah.
me.
I would like the mirror universe for me to be like really, really kind, over the top with kindness.
That actually would have been great.
That'd be funny. And then, yeah, Uhura's was nice, but those were actually almost good quality traits to stand up for yourself more, to be a little more sassy. That I'm like, well, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah. As you were rewatching this, Frank, when was the last time you think you saw this episode?
Gosh, it's probably got to be at least 10, if not more.
Yeah, it was
years.
probably like more like 15 for me. So it
Yeah.
had been a while. So it was fun to see. So some of your thoughts as you were watching it, now that we lived in the mirror universe for so long on Discovery.
Yeah, it was just like those little continuity things that you pick up. Like, so when they first get transported over, and you just notice, like, you know, Kirk's got both arms down to the side, and then when he's on the Enterprise bridge, he's got one arm up. Those little bits that are just popping up to you as you're watching the episode. Just little fun things. You're like, oh, all right. Just seeing the, you know, when you're trying to get a weekly show out back then, you know, you just got to work with what you got and just.
And then TVs were even smaller, and some of them were black and white. They're like nobody's, you know, and like it was over the air, so maybe your rabbit ears weren't pointing in the right direction. It's gonna be staticky.
Yeah.
They're like, no, nobody's gonna catch it.
That's
Just
right.
go ahead. Just
Just
leave
do
it
it.
there.
I don't think I noticed that.
I didn't, but I was reading about it. I was sort of reading like a Star Trek wiki afterwards for notes for the show, and I was like, oh, how about that? You know, it was one of those, yeah.
And I guess I would just justify Kirk's actions, the mirror universe. He is just, he has no poker face at all to be able to sell, like, I could possibly be this universe's Kirk. And I could think, like, well, he's got the Tantalus field. So he feels like that's a great leveler. He doesn't need to worry about being cunning or shrewd. He's just got a device that's going to be able to erase you out of existence if you cross him. So I'll justify that as for why he wasn't as cunning with Spock.
Right, because he
Yeah.
just didn't need to be.
Yeah.
Do they explain how that thing works on any other episode, or does it just pop up?
Not that
in
I
this?
remember.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Cool device that just makes you disappear.
Tiberius
Great.
plays a big part in the William Shatner and Reeve Stevens novels that take place after Generations, and the Tantalus Field is explored in depth in there.
So,
I don't know if I'll get to those.
and also we never see the woman again, right?
No.
Yeah, which I'm just like, oh,
Well,
that's a
wait.
fun thing that we see her on the bridge afterwards. Like, oh, you're on the ship now. I was like, yes, we'll
I
be
got here last
great
week.
friends, and I'm like, oh my god, that's
yeah.
gonna be awesome. Like, yeah, Kirk.
And we never see her
I
again.
never see her again. Never see.
I did
Yeah,
also love the stunt
friends.
work. Yeah, the stunt guy for Nimoy and that big
Yes!
final battle.
Yes!
It was so great.
That I did notice. I was just like, I'm like, that guy's not even built remotely like him.
Yes,
You know?
the overhead shot. I'm like, oh, that's totally not him.
Yeah.
And their hits are like, whew,
Oh,
nowhere near the face.
But that's
So
part
great.
of the fun of the original series.
But that's
is a
what
lot
I
of those,
didn't
like,
mind.
wide
It was kind of
cutaways.
funny. Or when he walks up to, I think it's when he walks up to Sulu and he has like, he walks right up to the knife. Like, yeah, what are you gonna do? And you're just, no.
I also like that one moment with Uhura when they first land over there and she's walking, Captain, and then he just goes over to console her.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
why did you make why is Uhura? Why are you making her that moment of weakness? Can't she also be just a strong person? Captain, I'm.
Because he's so handsome
Oh.
and charming, and every lady is like,
Look,
oh,
he has the
what's
answers to
up?
everything. That's
Yeah.
what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
That's why you have James
I
Tiberius
didn't think
Kirk.
they had. Do they have that much chemistry in the show?
There's really just
Some?
one instance where
Okay.
they have chemistry.
Because I was
but-
liking from very early on. I haven't watched that many, but like Uhura and Spock chemistry. I'm like, that's fun to watch because he is so like, nope.
Are you sure you're not thinking of J.J. Abrams movies? Because
No,
they have very
no.
strong chemistry.
Yeah,
in
oh yeah,
this.
no.
I
In
was
the
teasing.
old one, she does
Yeah.
flirt with him, and it's fun to watch. Of like her just like being
Yeah,
friendly.
and that's probably what inspired like the J.J. Abrams
Yeah.
movies, where they're like,
I
hey,
mean,
let's run with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they keep doing it because I've only watched like a few episodes at the beginning, but there's some of it there, and in the movies too, like where she's just more friendly with him. That I was like, I didn't think she had it for the captain too, but he's just that amazing, apparently.
And the one other thing too was just I feel like when you take away Spock from either side of it, that he's not with Kirk, where he can do some of that scientific explanation, they just lean heavily on the computer to be able to do
Yes.
all the exposition for you.
Computer.
And it's like that computer just can solve anything you need. You just answer and it's like, yep, this will do it. Yep, this can happen. Yep, we can get you back.
Is the computer normally a female voice?
On the Next
'Cause-
Generation onward, and it's always Majel Barrett. It's
Okay.
always #1 from The Cage, aka Gene Roddenberry's wife. So
I only
not
asked
anymore,
'cause-
but it's what it was for. I don't know what, like 650 of those episodes, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because when Kirk asked, he seemed surprised when the computer started talking, and like I watch stuff with subs, and it's like male voice. So I'm like, wait, is he surprised that it's a male voice or just?
No,
different
no.
voice.
It was always the male voice in the
Okay.
original series. I mean, I can't think of any exception. I mean,
Yeah.
the Enterprise, it was always a male voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's sort of talk about the big
Yeah.
picture mirror universe stuff. So, like, watching the episodes again, there was some cool stuff. It was nice to see some of the consistency of the mirror universe that we, if you lay out the timeline where you have Enterprise, Discovery, and original series, and you're just like, yeah, there's some constants here. I think that Discovery, obviously being from the modern day, is able to kind of tell the richest story about it, and they had so many episodes devoted to it. But I think that, I don't know, it doesn't seem like, well, this mirror universe doesn't really seem like that mirror universe. You feel pretty confident that we've gotten a really good look at this place. And it's interesting as we explore our next batch of episodes when we see where things go from the original series onward. The concept of the mirror universe is often explored, novels and comics. I don't think that the animated series did one, but I'm surprised actually that they didn't. And I think that just it's so rich. There's so much that you can do with it, that when you're doing these expanded universe things, I don't even know how many novels and comics and things there are, but I feel like I've certainly seen other instances of it, but there's very few televised episodes. I'm surprised we haven't had a mirror universe movie, by the way. Considering the things that they're like, well, we have Khan, and then in the Next Generation, we put the Borg, and the fact that the Next Generation never did a Mirror Universe episode just boggles my mind. When I was putting these ideas together for this week and next week's shows, I could not believe the Next Generation didn't do one.
But yeah, to mention like that was a writer's room where that had to be pitched numerous times, and I would love to know the reason why somebody there said like, no.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think that's exactly what it was, that it had to have gotten shot down for a variety of reasons. But anyway, so for those, by the way, Beta Artemis just all over the chat. We appreciate that. We're always glad when people are there. So if you're chatting or watching afterwards, just chat at us, and we'll give you our Twitters at the end. You can tweet at us directly. You can do all that good stuff.
Leave comments. We do read them.
Yes, we do, and I respond to a lot of them.
I love your comments on Marvel and people say stupid stuff.
Well, I do it on this one too, but
I see more dumb ones
on Marvel. They dislike me more than they do on this show because I'll say things like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't a perfect show. Go figure. Hey, but on this show, I talk about what I don't like on Star Trek. I just think
you're an honest fan.
I feel like if you're not, you shouldn't be doing this. Look, if somebody from one of the shows I don't like is sitting right here, I'm not going to say like, I really hated your show. If Robert Picardo, the Doctor from Voyager, is here, I'm going to talk about how much I love, because I actually really like that character.
Yeah.
Or that simulated person character. I don't even know what to call him. But anyway, that's just a random example. But so please leave comments. Overall thoughts from you, Kari, about the Mirror Universe as we've watched it so far. Are there like burning questions like I want to know more about this or that, or?
It's definitely been filled out more, and I appreciate it on Discovery more now after seeing it, because otherwise I'm like, is there context that I'm supposed to know about? Because remember when
context is for kings, I believe.
With Discovery, when they did the salute, I'm like, how do they know the salute? And I'm like, well, it's existed already. So then that's kind of cool that they've kept that the same.
The barely modified Sieg Heil salute from Nazi Germany.
But if they're like the super bad guys, it kind of works.
They should be Nazis. Yeah.
But I like how Shatner kind of does this variation, because everybody usually does the hand straight out, but he usually does like the stop.
Yeah.
When he does it like this, I'm like, whoa, all right, Shatner, just like, he's doing his own little flair on that.
And I'm surprised on the edge of his hand, it doesn't say like Tech War or, one of his other properties.
If they didn't go back.
Rescue 911, TJ Hooker, and just whatever.
When they went back to the restoration, if he didn't go, guys, just please, if you could just superimpose that.
By the way, let's have a quick divergence. How great was it when Sci-Fi Channel started airing those remastered episodes of the original series? Because they cleaned them up and you actually got to see the whole episodes, which I'd seen most of them on video by that point.
Episodes as in...
because they got cut pretty severely when they would be rerun.
Do you know if like on Netflix it's
No, Netflix are the whole episodes.
Oh, okay.
But this is like going back to... Because I think when they did that, it was about 20 years ago. Does that sound right, Frank? When Sci-Fi Channel... And they started airing the original episodes as 90 minutes. So there would be a little bit of extra material, but you'd get the whole 50-minute episode, which hadn't been on TV since I think the original run, because even when it first went into syndication, they only cut a couple minutes out, and then as time went on, they I think kept getting shorter and shorter. So anyway.
I'm just watching what's on Netflix, so I like that it's on Netflix.
See, and you get everything.
Yeah, I'm liking having more explanation on it. I think it's cooler when you get to see what your normal characters are, and then the Mirror Universe. Otherwise, like in Enterprise, I hadn't watched it, so then you don't appreciate the switch as much. I do like how in Discovery it's such extreme looks for some of the characters. Like Tilly is the best like switch of what she looks like.
Captain Killy.
But it works too because her character normally is so like bubbly and cheerful, and so we have her like curly natural hair. So her hard character is like straightened and very specifically stylized hair. So then you're like, yeah, that's a cool,
and by
simple
the way,
switch.
I hope we get to meet the actual Mirror Universe Captain Killy.
See, that would be
I would
cool,
love
too.
to see that. That's something that I'm hoping for next season.
I want people to meet their mirror counterparts. We don't really ever get that.
No, I agree.
Because it's like you swap. So if you're ever in that space, that's what I'd really want to see. That'd be really exciting.
You'll see some of that in the Deep Space Nine.
Ah, okay.
See, there you go. So, and then Frank, are you, speaking of which is a good, we only have a few minutes left. as we head towards our 5 episodes from Deep Space Nine, what have you watched any of those recently? Or
I haven't watched them, so I'm looking forward to
I've
diving
only
in.
ever seen those first time through. As much as I like Deep Space Nine, I didn't like tape it to rewatch it. I didn't buy any of the sets that came out, and so I'm looking forward to rewatching these. So it should be good. So here are the episode titles. I just have the titles, so beyond that you'll have to figure out, season. But they're basically one a year. So the episodes from Deep Space Nine are called Crossover, Through the Looking Glass, Shattered Mirror, Resurrection, and The Emperor's New Cloak.
They had fun with their titles too.
Yes, they did. Well, I mean, look, it's very
Yeah.
fun to do. And so there's 5 of them. So you can find those, and just just Google Deep Space Nine Mirror Universe episodes. That's what I did while we were talking. That's how I got them right in front of me. And I unfortunately thought that I just needed to shrink it, and then I would be able to say season and episode number, and it wasn't there.
They're making
So
that
anyway,
easy
but
for you.
that's how you get those 5. You do little homework. You know what? Look, this is a Star Trek weekly. All right, you're gonna have to do a little bit. You do a little bit more work. This isn't Star Wars, all right? You got to think a little bit more. I love Star Wars. I'm just teasing. That's fine. Anyway.
Actually, the more, I think we talked about this before, but the more I've watched Star Trek, it is true that Star Trek is sci-fi and Star Wars is fantasy.
I can definitely understand that.
I didn't think so
viewpoint.
before, but then I'm like, yeah, Star Trek is far more like science fiction. Because you brought up that there's no magic. So the idea that in
there
Star...
shouldn't be magic.
Yeah, there
in
shouldn't
Star
be. You
Trek.
said that
There
does
should
kind of
not
happen.
be
Yeah.
magic in Star Trek.
But then
yes.
Star Wars, the Force, you could say, is kind of magical.
It's very magical. Yeah.
So then it's more like a sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess when you break down Star Trek, it's like, well, the Vulcan mind meld's kind of magical. It's not that sciencey.
Yeah,
there
but
are
I could
examples.
go with it's an alien, so they have
Yeah,
special
right.
abilities.
Well,
so I'm like,
I agree.
sure.
So that's what we're gonna have to do at
Yeah.
some point is all the Q episodes, and then I'll
Oh,
come back around.
yeah.
And we'll talk so much about Corbin Burnson that I don't know what we'll do with it. Anyway, so that's your homework assignment for next week. And then after that, I have no idea. So we're really going to have to come up with some...
Leave comments on what kind of stuff you
Yeah,
want us to
what
cover.
do you want us to talk about? We're going to do the movies because those are sort of easier
we
to do.
did some of them already.
We pretty much only did Generations, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we just did Generations.
Yeah.
I started watching the old ones,
Right.
but we didn't talk about it
and
specifically.
I feel like we need to give Star Trek the motion picture like just a fair shake. I need to watch it with the most open mind possible.
Yeah.
That's the first one?
Yeah, which makes me think
That was good. Oh, no, except for the beginning taking like 10 minutes to show us the
it
ship.
takes
took
too long.
forever.
Yeah, in that movie is a decent story. It's just there's a lot of other stuff.
That was the only part that was really like...
And
ugh.
those uniforms.
Yeah, they were pretty
Yeah.
good.
I recently just watched Undiscovered Country, and man, Christopher Plummer is just great in that
So
movie.
good in that. Yeah.
Just
That's-
him in the court scene, the trial scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the translation!
Answer me now.
I have no idea what
That's
you guys
something
are
I say
talking
most
about.
weeks on my personal podcast, which, hey, this is how we can transition into the
There we
plugs.
go.
My personal podcast, The Blackcast, which can be found at blackcast.com, BLADTCAST, and I'm on Twitter at ChristianDMZ. Kari Lane, where do people find you?
Yes, y'all can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE.
And Frank.
You follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie, and Beta Artemis. I like your thought there about the Prime Lorca being hinted at being alive in the Mirror Universe with this latest novel.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
I didn't even realize. So we have Star Trek Discovery novels now out on the market.
We do.
I
Nice.
knew that they would be coming. I just didn't realize they were there yet.
I think there's 3 right now.
I'm kind of... See, I was already excited, and then I'm like, I can't read 3 books. I don't have time to watch...
Maybe
I don't-
they're not that big
I don't have
books.
time to watch Jessica Jones. I haven't seen any episodes yet, so believe me, I don't have time to read 3 books. Anyway, that is all of our time, but we will see you next week with those 5 Mirror Universe episodes of Deep Space Nine. Until then, live long and prosper.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.